the grade. Not saying you guys are strict graders or anything like that, or super lenient graders, but let's just make sure we have a consistent grading across the board. The week after this week is the lab practical, right? So that's Lab 6. That's also a really big chunk of their grade. So they have almost a third of their grade being decided in the course of 2 weeks. And that will also be fully graded by the graduate students. Okay. Now, with that said, I am asking that everyone completes the in-lab portion of the lab practical. Okay. Even with you not grading it, you are still going to be checking off and making sure that people complete the parts that they need to complete in the in-lab portion of the practical. Okay. What that means for you is you actually need to know what's going on in the practical. So by the beginning of next week, by our next meeting on Monday, I would like everyone to have completed the in-lab portion of the practical. Does that make sense? This is paid time. This is time that you get paid for. I want to repeat that one more time. It is time you get paid for. And with you not having to worry about grading for the next couple of weeks, I think that's a good trade-off. So please make sure you complete the in-lab portion of the practical and send it to me and your GTA by our next meeting on Monday. Okay? That is expected of everyone, so please do so. Yes.
Any values needed?
I will send out values to use after this meeting. Yes.
Did we get Lab 5 or is that graded by you?
Pre-Lab 5 can be graded by you guys, and in fact, it'd be greatly appreciated if UTAs could do Pre-Lab 5, since again, Lab 5 and Lab 6 do take quite a bit of time on the graduate student side of things. So if you guys could please do that, that'd be great. Anyone have questions on that? I will send that out in an email as well, so you don't forget. Again, that is expected of you, so please do so. If you don't do it, we'll have to have a talk. I don't want to have a talk. Sound good? All right. I believe that's all I have on my side. Nothing too crazy. I would really recommend everyone learning how to use LaTeX. That includes you and the students. There is a template for the formal report for LaTeX. And again, I would really recommend it. So if that is something that you'd be interested in doing or encouraging students to do so, it does make really nice, pretty reports without a lot of effort. So it's just something to keep in mind. Any questions for me? Yes.
How much hours can we add?
So that's a good question. For those that didn't hear, they asked how much credit or how much help can we give students on the in-lab and the take-home portion of the practical? And the answer is very little, okay? Except if you see people being proactive, if they ask you questions during office hours about like how to do something, okay? Is that necessarily for the practical or not? Can we really make that decision? I don't know, right? So if they're asking you how to properly scale something on an oscilloscope, that sounds like something you can help with pretty easily, right? If they ask specifically, how do I calculate this value that I'm getting out of my manual? Yeah, maybe not, right? So please use your best judgment. Again, we want people to actually know how to use the equipment, right? That's what the practical is actually showing, okay? If you get a good grade on the practical, it shows that you know how to use LT Spice. It shows that you know how to use the equipment, okay? Use your best judgment on when you're helping people with this information. We are encouraging students to practice, right? We all the values are on, they will be on Piazza momentarily, and they are all sent to the GTAs to post on the Brightspace. So the values are there. Everyone has the values that they will be using for their pre-lab. Okay. So if they want to run through all 10 scenarios, good for them. I don't recommend it, but good for them. So yeah.
Are we expected to do the practical like how can we do it like
You can do it on your own time. It doesn't matter to me.
the editor version?
I would recommend you use the benchtop version, just because that's what we'll be doing here. But please make sure you do that. So, does anyone have any questions on what I just said? I know that was very convoluted and intentional that way, but. All right, yes, please use your best judgment. Again, we are encouraging students to practice the practical, okay? We want to know that they know how to use the equipment, and the best way you're going to use the equipment is by practicing. All right. Cool. Anything else for me? Who is not getting paid yet? Awesome. People were still raising their hands at like week 12 last semester, so good. I'm glad we're all getting paid now. All right, cool. If you guys do have any questions or concerns, please let me know, and we will go from there. Please make sure you're keeping up on your grading. How has Gradescope been going? 5 being fantastic, 1 being absolutely terrible. How's it going? Okay. Getting there. All right, I'm not seeing any 2s. So, okay. No, again, and hopefully it will keep getting a little bit smoother and smoother as the semester goes on. We are getting those templates sorted out. GTAs, I'll tell you how to get those updated templates and updated rubrics. If we can talk a little bit after the meeting today, and we'll go over more on your tasks on the practical and whatnot as well. We'll get that information to you soon. That's all I have. I think I said that 4 times already, so hopefully this is the last time. All right.
Okay, so one thing for GTA, so the GTA can probably mention to the students is that's happen is when like the students work in a group, and then one student may focus on the one part of the experiment. Like for example, one people building the circuit, another student is working on the LT spec stuff. Then in the lab practical, I found out like one student don't know how to build the circuit. Then another student don't know how to do the LT specs. That happened before. So make sure you tell your students, like when they do the experiment, they can work in a group, but make sure both of them are like they know what they are doing. Okay, both of them can able to build the circuit and also like do the LT specs. Okay. Right. So okay, so this week will be Lab5, which they will start to write a formal report. I think the report should be due 2 weeks from 2 weeks from your class begin. Okay, so I think that's what I upload on the Excel with not at beginning of the semester. By the way, do we want submit on Brightspace or?
So there is a submission on Gradescope that might make things go a little bit smoother if we.
Okay.
And we're not trying to bounce back and forth.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. The report still submit on the Gradescope. Let's see anything else. Okay. Make sure they check I think we have the template for the report. Okay. So you tell the students that the report is kind of totally different from write up. They need to write down the theory part, the abstract part. Okay, just make sure they check the template for the report. All right, so yeah, this week is Lab 5, which they will do the superposition circuit and also the Norton and the linear circuit, survey and Norton theory. So let's see. So yeah, this is the PPT. Okay, basically they can after they learn how to use the survey equivalent circuit or the Norton equivalent circuit, they know how to simplify the complex circuit with just like a voltage source with a resistor or current source with a resistor. So just help them to simplify the circuit. And also in the last task, they are going to use LT specs. That's a very useful tool. Right, so the linear system, so you can go through this really quick. Right. All right, make sure you tell the students, they also should learn this before the class is they know when they simplify the circuit, all the voltage source will treat as short circuit. All the current source should treat as a open circuit. That's how they do the this thing. And also the example in the manual 5.3.1 is very helpful, so you can probably quickly go through this. I think that question is related to a voltage source and also a current source, so they can give a good example. All right, then yeah, the Norton and survey theory. I think all of you should know this. And also GT, you can just quickly go through this. All right, so this one is so it's the internal resistance of the voltage source. Okay, so ideally all the voltage source have zero resistance, but I think what we have in the benchtop equipment, the DC voltage source should have a very close to zero internal resistance. For the function generator, it has a 15 ohm internal resistance. So that's why when they use function generator as a voltage source, they probably need to think about voltage division equation to treat their circuit. So they cannot treat the voltage source as a purely 0 ohm resistance voltage source. Right. So okay, voltage buffer. You should already know this, but just tell the students what's the function of the buffer. Okay, so make sure they understand what's the buffer, which this circuit is very important in their later on project, especially the final project. They probably will use some buffer. So make sure they know what's a buffer. Like the gain is equal to 1, which means whatever gets to the input of the buffer will get to the output. And also it has a high input resistance and low output resistance. All right, so let's skip the practical first. Let's just talk about the lab 1. Okay, so the task 1. Okay, before talk about task 1, let's talk about the pre-lab really quick. Hopefully you can see the screen. What I usually do in the previous semester is at the beginning of the class, since they already finished their pre-lab, I will quickly go through how to do the calculation part. So in case they did something wrong, they know how to fix it later on. And the superposition is a very important theory. So this is what I usually show to the students, like this is their circuit diagram in the pre-lab, and they need to calculate the V1, V2, V3 individually as the individual voltage source. For example, right here, in first step, I use V1 as the only voltage source, which I will ground V2, V3 to ground, and which will transfer this circuit to something like this. It's just a very simple voltage divider circuit, right? So it's R1 in series with R2, R3, R4 in parallel. And then they can get a voltage divider equation. So that's the way out 1. And then they just repeat the same process, get way out 2 and way out 3. And they add together, they will get like an equation, since the V2 and V3 is a triangle wave and sine wave. So some students will, that's a common mistake, they will just take the amplitude of V2 and V3, and finally they will just get a DC as the way out, which is wrong. So just quickly go through this in the beginning of the lab.
Can I add some stuff?
Yeah.
Visually, the big confusion that happens here is, as Aaron mentioned, the sources are grounded.
right? They are grounded. They have a common ground with everyone. In fact, for the circuit, for all intents and purposes, it has the same ground that is across R4, right? So if it helps for someone to redraw it, or if you want to kind of show them how to redraw it as well with grounds on the opposite side of the source, I found that does help some students quite a bit because they're not shown to have a ground right. Even though we know intuitively that there is, that may not come directly to students. That sometimes helps out.
Yeah, I think like later on, from now on, we have like more complex circuits, so we'll have multiple ground. When I help students to debug the circuit, sometimes they forgot the ground. So probably you can tell the student most of the time the ground are shared together, like the oscilloscope ground, the function generator ground, and also the DC voltage source ground. They all share together, and they should connect together on the breadboard. Right, so that's pre-lab. You can quickly go through, and then the task one. Okay, task one is the loading with the real signal. So let's say the step one, they are going to connect the function generator with the speaker directly to connect together. So that will cause some loading issue. Okay, because if you remember, the speaker have a low resistance like 10 ohm or 8 ohm, and the internal resistance in the function generator is 15 ohm. So this is like a resistance of the function generator, and this is probably the resistance of the speaker. So this will cause some loading issue because most of the voltage will distribute on this resistance. So that's what they will find out in the step number 2. They will measure the RMS value for the speaker, and that value is lower than the 215 ohm, million watts. Right, and the answer for the reason is the loading issue. Okay, and then task one, step number 3, they are going to build a voltage buffer. So this is the first time they are going to build a IC chip, okay, the integrated circuit chip. So let's see. So in the previous semester, I showed students something like this. Right, so since this is the first time they doing the IC, so I show them this picture is the IC chip in their lab kit, and there are 8 pins, and each pin have different function. So like pin 2, pin 3 is the input, of course, you know that. And then this diagram here tell them how to transfer the schematic to the breadboard. Okay, so for example, this is a schematic, and this number here indicates different pin. Okay, so like pin 2, pin 3. So this diagram kind of help the student to build the first IC, I think. I'm not sure I can share this to all the JTAs, so you can decide show this to your student or not, or if you have better diagram. And one thing you make sure you emphasize to the student is when they build this circuit, don't inverse the positive and the negative power supply. Okay, so that will make your chip smoke and will make your chip very hot. So the JTA, you should also mention this in the beginning of the class. And also you can tell the students it's a good habit is when they build the circuit, turn off all the power supply. And after they build the circuit, double check the circuit before the student turn on the power supply.
Careful with the capacitors as well. This is the first lab where using capacitors, but they don't really know what they are yet. Put them in the wrong way, they do have potential to pop.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure they tell the decoupling capacitor. Yeah, they are the first time doing the capacitor. All right. Okay, I think then step number 4. Basically, they are going to build this circuit right here. Have a buffer in between and function generator and speaker, and they are going to measure the voltage at the input and also the voltage at the output, which is across the speaker. They should get something like this. This is the value I think we put that on the. They will also get something similar to this. And then step number 5, the sound will be louder with the buffer. If the input resistance of the buffer is very small, it will not get the loading issue. And the step number 6, they need to do the calculation of the survey equivalent resistance. I think even some UT may confuse about this step last semester, I remember. So basically, they will we can transfer this diagram to this circuit right here. So it's just the RTH of the RTH is the survey equivalent resistance of the buffer. And ideally, these two values should be same, but not everything is ideal in the real circuit. So they will get a little bit difference from the input and output. So they can use that difference to get the equivalent resistance of the buffer. So this is the calculation process. And I think we can just tell the student assume the resistance of the speaker is 8 ohm. Okay, they will need this value to do this calculation. And yeah, this is the calculation process. So you know the voltage cross the RTH, and you can calculate the current cross this RTH. Then you can get the input and the output resistance of the buffer, which is the equivalent resistance. This value should be very small. That's probably like something around 1 ohm. I think that's task 1. Any question about task 1? Just make sure, be careful, tell the students be careful when they build the buffer. Okay, then task 2 is the survey equivalent circuit. Let's see. Okay, so basically they will get 2 equations, and there are 4 variables after they do the step 1 calculation. Okay, the step 1 is just let them to do the calculation. So the most common result is R1, R2, and R3 will be equal to 1K, and then the Vs will be the 5 ohm. So that's the most common result. So since they only have 2 equations, there are 4 variables. There are like many solutions. And make sure to tell the students when they do the calculation, they want to make sure the value they get for their resistor, they show available in their lab kit. Okay. Right. So then step number 2 is develop a method to measure the 2-terminal network. Okay, basically the 2-terminal network is just something looks like this. Okay, so just there is a block diagram, and inside this block diagram there are some circuit, and then only thing we can touch with is this 2-terminal. So what they can do is they can just measure the voltage, or they can measure the current, or they can measure the resistance. Whatever the method they are going to do, they need to verify the value they get. Okay, and basically this step is let the student to write down a method that can measure the 2-terminal network. So make sure you tell the students they want to write down the method to be very clear, like a step-by-step method, then another student can just easily follow their method to repeat the measurement. Okay, so yeah, and also that's easier when you do the grading. All right, that's step 2, and the step number 3 is just they will build the circuit on the breadboard, and then verify the result. And step 4 is just draw the survey equivalent circuit. Right, I think task 2, that's all I have. And number 5 is step 5 is the actual grading. I'm not going to talk about this right here, but if they are interested in this, they can do this part. Any question about task 2? Right, then, okay, make sure also you tell the student the survey equivalent circuit is very important, because one of the question in lab practical is kind of related to this part. Okay, if they did that question wrong, that will make the following question wrong, and that will take off a lot of points in their lab practical. So make sure the students understand what's survey equivalent circuit. Okay. And then task number 3 is just the LT space. Okay, they build the pre-lab circuit again in their LT space. Not much we need to talk about here. Is that make sure in the LT space, you should know this, but just remember, there is no triangle wave in the LT space, so you will need a pulse wave to build to generate a triangle wave. By change, I think the on time to be 0, you're going to get a triangle wave. And also, same thing here. That's what they did in the pre-lab is when you use one of the voltage source, another 2 voltage source, either you can just short them to ground, or in the LT space, you can just make it to be like 0 volt. That's also equal to short to ground. And also another thing is from my previous experiments, when they took a screenshot, which means that depends on how they set up their like the running type of the transient simulation running type. They probably will just run 1 period, or they will run so many periods, like 100 periods. So make sure you tell the students they want to run properly period, like you can see like 2 or 3 periods in the screenshot. So that will be good. Okay.
If you get questions about, well, you probably don't have any questions, but if you got questions from them, they were having to simulate this to MATLAB or Python, usually good 2 or 3 periods is just fine for this, so you can get the characteristics going. Yeah. Don't have them go any further. It also takes up a week.
And also, I think some students are using Windows system, and some students use Mac for the LT space. The function is like let's say the control function is a little bit different. There are some tutorial for the Mac LT space version. I think I can post them to you guys, and you can send to the student if they are using Mac computer. And also make sure that the student to watch the LT space tutorial. Okay. And also, I think that's mentioned in the PPT is the one of the tasks in the lab practical using the LT space. So make sure they know how to use LT space. Otherwise, if they come here, it's the first time using LT space, they cannot finish the lab practical. Okay. All right, I think that's all for Lab 5. Just make sure the report is different from Lab write-up. They have a formal report, okay, instead of the write-up. Anything else to
one more thing I forgot. I remembered one more thing I wanted to tell. Sorry. It is now pretty darn close to the middle of the semester. So again, thank you for all your help with helping out with all this. Hopefully midterms go pretty well for you. I do want to talk with all of you one-on-one at some point. So I did this last semester and it seemed to go pretty well. And I think those actually appreciated it. That helped out. It also helps me a lot. That way I actually know how to help you guys because that's kind of my job. So I'll be sending out another doodle at some point, probably next week, where if you guys would like to sign up for a 15-minute slot, we'll just meet in my office, go through how semester's going so far and anything that I can really do to make sure you guys can do your job. So, and again, that really helps me a lot. I hope it's beneficial for you guys as well, so then we can actually see both sides of the story and we go from there. I'd like to do it at the end of the semester as well. So we'll do that again if you guys are open for it. Sound good? Cool.
Okay. Lab practical. Yeah, just lab practical is after you want me to talk more?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think next after the lab 5, they are going to do the lab practical again. You know, like they should finish the in-lab the take-home portion before the next week, and then they come here to the in portion. I'm thinking what else.
Couple things about the lab practical. Primarily, talking to the GTAs here, Ben sent us out an email with like the lab practical versions and values. Post the at-home ones, and then do not post the in-lab version. But pretty much Ben spelled it all out in the email, so be sure you check that out. I think it came out at like 1:30 or 2. So keep an eye out on that. Again, remind people to practice because really there should be no surprises. They should be in, out, and done pretty quickly. The class will be split up in half, especially for like the 20,007. No, for my 29,595, there's only like 15 people, so I don't need to split them up, but large sections will be split in half. Ben again talked about that in the email. Just be sure to communicate that. And then one last thing is putting their practical version number on Brightspace. So if you go to the grades tab,
We can for the GTA. If you don't know how to do this, we can come to here after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can show you that.
yeah, we can put in just like a quote, like a text grade where you can just put in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's not, a score that will actually affect their final grade.
Is there anything else for the good of the group? Yes.
Grading and like, did we mark off or like?
Yes. So there was a post about this on Piazza, and I think we should start implementing it. If you see people not actually, putting specific pages in, that takes up a lot of time on your side, especially once the templates get to be like 6, 7 pages. So we're going to start taking points off for it. You cannot do that in Gradescope. There's not really a good way to do so. But we can, just change the grade in Brightspace, and then we'll leave a little comments on that. We'll talk about that with GTAs. When you guys are grading, if you can leave a note on, you can leave a general note that shows up on the main page. That way we can go through and say, okay, this person, did put in pages, whatever else. We can go through that pretty quickly. So please make sure you leave those comments. Yeah.
Should we wait until like the updated templates are up?
Go ahead and start grading. Hopefully we'll have at least labs 4 through 5 or 3, 4, and 5 ready to go pretty soon for you. So you guys have the templates pretty much done already for those ones. So we can, I'll tell GTAs how to sync those up, and then you guys can go from there. Sound good? Anything else for the good of the group? All right, GTAs, if we could just meet for a quick minute, then we'll get out of your hair. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.
Were you asked for
I can tell them to. Otherwise, it's literally just going to.
我们最终要他们 assign 那个座位吧。
坐哦，对，要选时间。对对，他们要分开选。
If you don't mind. But you don't get me. Aaron, is it okay if I
And also, I think for the split, when we split the time for the lab practical, each group like they need to separate. Like for example, like in one group, the first students go the first like portion of the lab, and then second student will go the second hour. So each group they cannot compare as.
They have issues with Gradescope? Well, open. I have a Google Square.
Oh, you have an open already?
Yeah, let me.
Thank you. All right, so thanks to some of our UTAs, they've actually been working really hard on getting these Gradescope templates ready to go. And they've actually smoothed things out a lot, which is nice. So for example, we have this development class right here. And I'll make sure to share this with you guys momentarily. But what it looks like now is if we were to say go to experiment 3 write-up, all you see is on the actual outline, it just specifically asks for the specific task, which is really nice. And then when you go to grading, inside each task, there are actual, we have one whole submission. Go figure. There we go. There's actual specific things in here that will actually walk through and deduct points based on what they did. In order to actually get these, so say if you were to go to, let's just pick a section here. Let's see, I'll just screw up mine. There it is. So if we were to say for experiment 4 write-up, even though it's not ready to go yet, when you grade the submissions, what you can do is you go to the task that you want or the one that you're working on, and then you just click import. It will let you select the class that you want to work on or that you want import from. So in this case, you guys won't have as many to sort through. Me, Aaron, and Adam are instructors on every single one, so we have a lot to sift through. But let's find, oh, it's right here. It pops up all the different assignments that you have. So in this case, write up 4, and then you can choose task 1, task 2, task 3, and so on and so forth. And that's all you have to do. It does take a minute. Next semester, we'll just copy them over directly, so you don't have to go through and import anything. But in this case, it will actually show you all the different things that you can choose from as well, which is really nice. And we'll go from there. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So do we have to go like task 4.6.1, import task 1, task 4.6.2, import task 2? Okay.
Sadly, yes. There's not a way to, or at least not that I found, without screwing everything up, to go through and change that. I might test some stuff for future labs. So like say since we have a few weeks, we're not going to actually have lab 7 for another couple of weeks, and we're not going to have submissions for it for 3 weeks. So I'm going to go digging through and seeing if we can just sync them up directly, that with hopefully with just a few button clicks. I haven't had time to do that quite yet. Have you guys had issues exporting everything to Brightspace? Has that been going okay for you guys? Good. If you make sure when you guys click that, make sure you're linking the actual assignment. It should pop up as the actual name for you. They're all titled the same thing, so they should actually just say, Lab 3 write-up, whatever else. If you don't, it gives you a drop-down menu of everything you can select, and it should go from there pretty smoothly. Cool. It's getting there. It's getting there. I know. Thank you for your patience on this. I do think it's going a lot smoother than last semester, though, even if it is still a little hands full. But we're getting there. Cool. In regards to lab reports, I'm gonna apologize right on the front here. It takes a long time. Okay, it really does, especially for the larger sections. Yeah, we're talking 80 lab reports between your two sections, right? And that's a lot. So it would be fantastic. It would be my dream come true if we could have all of them graded by before say lab 8. I am completely understanding that that is probably not going to happen. If it does, again, I will be so happy. In fact, I'll buy every pizza if we can. But I understand that might not happen. Please try to get them done as soon as possible. You will find that the practical is actually grades pretty quickly, especially the in-lab portion, because that's all done in lab. You just have to go through, this person didn't do this, take off 10 points, or they didn't do this, take off 5 points. The pre-lab does take a minute, but I have a spreadsheet that has all the values based off of their load and everything else. So all you got to do is punch in the load. It'll tell you the numbers that they're supposed to have. And so you can just stream through it that way. So hopefully that'll make things go a little bit quicker for you. I'll share that with, did I share? I'm not sure if I shared that one with you or not.
Also, you could just put it in the rubrics folder. I think I put you.
Oh, there we go.
I think I put you as a co-editor.
There we do that. I'll do that. That's a good idea. As it's literally just a spreadsheet, you can change the load values and then it'll give you the value that they're supposed to have. And then hopefully that'll go a little bit smoother for you too. If we could please, and I do ask this pretty seriously, if we can try to get the practicals out by the next lab, that would be great. Since that is a very large portion of the student's grade, they're itching pretty quickly to get that information. So if we could please have that graded and ready to go by lab 7, that'd be much appreciated. And we'll just go ahead and put those grades directly into Brightspace. We're not going to worry about grade scope at all for that. Sound good? Cool. I'm still trying to figure out a fun shape for the practical, for the waveform. I actually was really hoping it was going to end up being this week because I actually made a really nice heart, and the waveform on the time domain is actually pretty cool. But it did not work out, which is a shame. That's okay. So I got to think of something else. Maybe I'll do a clover or something. All right. Yes.
I was looking at that like how to get some image on the oscillator.
Uh-huh.
I found like if you take a picture and convert it to vector graphics,
Mhm.
and also like then get an array of what value lies on what. Like,
Yep.
This kind of vector graphics is kind of like made of shapes.
Yep, I've done that a couple of times and it works out pretty good. That's how I got the Purdue P and everything else like that I showed you guys last week or the week before. I think it was last week.
So you generate an audio file out of that.
Yep. Which is kind of cool. The fact that we can just we actually and then import an audio file into these and actually just exports the waveform. It's actually pretty sweet. But I'm hoping there's a better way to do it. So I'm trying to think of some different images we can possibly do. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. The issue with the P and then the train that I showed you guys last week, the time domain is terrible. It's literally just a bunch of pixels, so you can't make any sense of it whatsoever. So I need to find something a little bit better than that. We'll see. Any questions for the good of the group or anything else I can do for you guys right now? Yeah.
I have another question related to ADP experiment. So
Yeah.
one of my students got sick and he wanted ADP version of Lab4.
That's fine.
I couldn't find that on the.
Did I not put them in the folder? If I'll put them in the folder there for you. So thanks for bringing that up.
If the task not labeled, not 82, they can put that 82.
Yeah, as long as it's not labeled with the 82 with the circle and the crossed out, yeah, they can use the 82. That's fine. The only reason why most of them that are crossed out with the 82 is because we're asking for like a 15-volt input, which the 82 can't do. They can do 5. So, but that's about it. So, okay. Anything else? Everything else just going okay for the most part? Class is going okay. I know midterms are coming up, so please make sure you balance your life as well as you can. I know that's easier said than done. But if there is anything I can be doing to help you guys out, please let me know. You guys get first dibs at the meeting time, so I'll be sending you guys out the doodle link first, and then I'll send it to you TAs. Since you guys are actually in charge of the sections, I like to hear your inputs as much as possible before they get bogged down with UTS. Cool. All right. Have a good one, guys. Let me know if you guys need anything. Last week I was a little absent, so this week I'm going to try to get into as many sections as I can. So I should be around. Thank you. Yeah.
So I noticed there's a two students in my one section. I think that's the Friday section.
Okay.
Like they never, there's one student that never showed up or like never submitted any.
Are they the ones submitting the identical?
No, they're not.
Okay.
So I mean, I didn't see his lab report or write up. So I emailed him, I think, and then I didn't get a response.
Okay.
And then in the beginning of the semester, I think I also mentioned there's a student who said that he was in China because of the immigration.
Is that okay?
He not like I have reached out to him like
Okay.
2-3 times, but he
If-
have